Recording in progress. Do not disturb.
It really should say recording starting because it's not really in progress. Like it just started it.
Yeah, but I think it plays that sound for people that like join
Oh,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Probably
like
you're
that
right.
way the lazy ass coders that work at Zoom don't have to have like multiple messages. They can just have the one.
Makes
But
sense.
that's neither here nor there. Hey, welcome gang.
That sounded so fake.
Well, I mean, it was a little fake because we already having a conversation, but it's like, oh, hey, we got to intro the podcast. What name are we going by this week? Listen, I want to know. The listeners want to know. Where'd we land? Have we landed? Have we taken off?
We haven't really landed in the fact that I've changed the outward branding, but I really feel like off the cuff rolls off the tongue a little better and just makes a little bit more sense. I mean, we are unfiltered, but we're not completely unfiltered as much as we can for, you still got to have boundaries. I just think
Gotta
off the,
gotta be
it's just,
polite.
you don't have to be polite, but I'm just
Well,
saying
you
there's
know what I
just,
mean.
so off the cuff, I think is the better way to go. So, anyways, this
Off
is
the
off the
cuff, it's
cuff
off the tongue.
podcast, the off the cuff show. Ashley DeWeese
Justin DeWeese, Team
here,
DeWeese.
here and ready for takeoff.
How you been?
I'm good. You know, things could be better, things could be worse.
The duality of man. Am I right?
Well, I mean, honestly, like what do you actually want, right? I think that's a question that I over the years have just kind of become like numb to because
Which
you
question?
never how you been,
Oh, okay.
or something like that, or how are things going? How you been? Just because it's like that's what everyone says. And it's
Right.
like often people say that just it's just a thing they know to say, right? It's in the script
Sure.
for opening greetings or conversations. And so then as a person, it's kind of like, you know, what do I want my response to be? Am I gonna do they really care? Are they really wanting to know how I've been, how I am, or
Well,
is it like
so
the formality? And so that may be the thing. Like before I respond, do you really want to know how I've been, or are these just pleasantries?
I mean, why put it on them, right? Live your life. Go Jim Carrey and liar liar style with it.
I
Well,
mean,
I
you
had a
can't.
disappointing sexual performance last night, but I feel like I'll get over it.
No, I definitely could do that for sure. I'm just the kind of person that like I don't like to waste my energy on people that aren't invested. And so it's
Sure.
like, you know, if you really want to know, I kind of put it in the place of if you really want to know, you'll probe a little deeper.
Yeah, but what if you going off script frees
It
them
could.
from the matrix?
I mean, it could.
I mean, don't you owe that to your fellow man to shake things up a little bit?
I mean, I probably do. I probably do. Just it's just not the default.
Food
Hey,
for thought. That's all I'm saying.
hey, I appreciate the feedback, coach.
Hey, listen, we are here to help each other grow and to help our beloved listeners grow.
For sure. How have you been?
Well, first off, I just want to say that that comment about the disappointing sexual performance last night was completely fictitious. So please, I don't need the DMs of tips and tricks and potions. Everything's good. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm sure
Um,
the queue was lined up with
but
the
listen,
commentary.
there are there are things that people like to chime in on.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And I'm just saying, like,
Usually
that's
the
the kind
things
of
that are
topic.
not super relevant or helpful
Right,
to
right. That's
them,
the kind
to
of
their.
topic that people would be like, "Oh, hey, listen, my great aunt Edna always swore that blah blah." Like, nope, nope, nope. Um,
Right.
no, I mean, it is hectic January, dang near February.
Yeah.
I
January is like the longest, shortest month ever.
That's a pretty accurate description. But I, because I didn't have enough going on my plate, I stepped up to help coach Dax's basketball team more actively.
Right, right.
Um, so that's been fun.
Which I'm
It's
proud of you for,
well,
one, because I
thanks.
know that you do enjoy it. And two, I know that he really appreciates having you there
Well,
and being a part of it.
that's what he says when we're away from the court.
Well, of course, that's what kids are going to do. Like, that's like, I appreciate your coaching of me, but sometimes in the moment, I wish that you wouldn't give me such great insight. Like it's just,
Yeah,
they can be par for the course, especially when you're a
that
teenager.
yes, and that's my biggest struggle because he's like, I want you to help me to get better, and he's literally told me, I want you coaching. I like when you're coaching my teams. And then I try to give him some coaching in the moment, and he gives me that attitude, and man, it takes everything in my power not to backhand him across the gym, but I don't because we don't, that's not how you behave. But yeah, it is challenging.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, welcome to, my recent world of coaching our daughter. Um, and she says the same thing, right? When we talk about dance, or when I was actively her volleyball coach, and that, I think what I keep trying to remind myself of is not just how do I, as an adult, at sometimes respond to situations where people are trying to give me coaching and whatnot. But just it's a couple of things. One, at their age, they don't have the life experience that we do. And so they're still trying to figure out, like, what do I want? What do I not want?
Right.
What are my emotions about this? Like all of that stuff. And I think it's tough because I think that in their hearts, they do value our insight and they do want helped to become better. I think at that age, it can be very tough to take feedback and constructive criticism because there is so much emotion involved for girls,
Sure.
especially, but definitely for boys. And so I think it's harder for them to separate at that age, uh, mom or dad coaching me to give me feedback to help me to become better versus this is my mom or dad and the things that they're saying about me,
Right.
right? Like, I know for me that's what I just told you the other day. Like, I felt like in that place where she says she wants me to help her, also, just as we've discussed, as parents who we're just a family that wants to do well. Like, we're competitive. We want to do well. We want to be our best. Like, both of our kids are that way to
Yeah.
certain extents. And so then when you step in to help them, especially when they've given you permission to help them to become better, and just as a parent, knowing that there's some things that by default, like, kids are just not going to choose to do, or kids are not going to do because they're not there yet. And it's our job as parents
Right.
to coach them. Like, it can be challenging because, as I said to you, like, I want to push her to her potential. I want to help her grow in the ways that she says she wants to grow. At the same time, I don't want to be causing any kind of damage to how she feels about herself, to how she feels about, her worth, her value, etc. And no matter how hard I try to choose my words carefully so that I am focusing on that, or even like saying out loud, like, hey, I'm not saying this. This is what I'm saying, and here's why, and blah, 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 blah. There's still that feeling of like, man, is she internalizing this about herself, thinking that I'm telling her she's not good enough or can do
Of
better?
course.
It's like and so all I'm trying to get at there, hopefully. you listening can resonate, that resonates with you. Parenting is messy,
Well,
especially if you duly truly.
good Lord.
Well, I think, I don't know. I just think the mentality of people that, want to pursue growth and whatnot in their life, it can be challenging, a little bit more challenging as a parent.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's one of those things going back to another conversation that you and I were having that so you were saying that like some of the coaching that I provide you, you don't necessarily love it in the moment, right?
Right.
And so I was thinking about how I often take coaching too. And I think this is where it sometimes gets sticky, right? Because we want to be coached, right? We know that we've got room to grow and improve and blah blah blah, all the things. Um, that being said, we don't want to be coached every moment,
Sure.
right? And so I think oftentimes, especially like with you and me, um, it's not that the coaching objectively is not wanted. It's just that subjectively in the moment, like I
Right.
didn't I didn't ask for coaching right now.
Right.
And I think that's what um might that might be part of the rub with Dax and I. Um because, an opposite example of that, one of the boys on the team, Andrew, when he came out of the game on Tuesday, he came over to the bench and he looked at me and goes, "Hey, what can I be doing better? What do I need to do differently out there?" And I was
Mm,
like, "Whoa, that's amazing. Like,
right.
great questions, bro." But like, he's primed for it, right? He wants to hear, he wants that direction and coaching in the moment. Whereas some of the other players, especially like if you are yanking them off because they just picked up a foul or whatever, or in our life, the moment is not right. It may be great coaching, it may be great advice,
Right.
but it's going to fall on deaf or angry ears because it's not the time, right?
Right. And that's, there are some differences, of course, between adults and children, and we can
Of
kind of
course.
swing back and forth between the two groups, because I think a lot of what we're saying also applies, as we've shared, like, for
Yeah,
adults.
absolutely.
um but I think a tool that I've learned from one of my mentors years ago was, and sometimes I forget to do this, I'm human, but definitely am very intentional about it most often, and that is asking for permission, right? Either asking for permission, like, hey, can I coach you on this? Hey, would it
Right.
be okay if I gave you some feedback on this? Because that's really, really powerful, because then you do go from a space of offering up insight that is now, you've now been given the green light. Hey, it's okay for me to give you this, versus, like you said, it wasn't. And now it's not even going to be effective anyway. I think another question that we have been given as a strategy, and again, inconsistent in utilizing it, but we do use it, and that with each other, and that is, what are you wanting right now, or what are you needing right now, right? Like, do you need me to be a coach? Do you need me to be a hard ass to you? Do you need me to kind of just listen to what you're saying? Do you need me to take on more of just the I'm here for you husband role, versus I see more in you husband role? Like,
Right.
whatever verbiage applies at the time. And that, I know, for me, is helpful, because there are times, like, I'm just trying to get it out, especially when I already know. And I think for everyone, adults and kids alike, those are moments when it can be tough to receive coaching, because you do already know. right? Like I already know that I screwed up, right? I already know what I did or didn't do was not the right choice, or I know the consequence connected to it. And so right now, especially if it's like hot off the press, I
Right.
don't need you to come in and like reinforce what I already know and am currently probably beating myself up about, feeling like shit about.
Well, tough shit, because I'm like Bob the Builder and I'm here to fix it. No,
Yeah, you
I hear you, right? And that has been the cause of additional strife in our relationship. And I would argue just about anybody that is listening to this that is a grown ass adult in a grown
everybody's
ass adult relationship, because I don't want to just listen to you.
right.
I want to solve the flipping problem.
Right.
And sometimes you just want to run your damn mouth about the problem and not solve it in the moment. And I like that does not compute with my male brain. I don't understand it. So yeah, I try to do, and I'm definitely not as consistent as I need to be, but yeah, I try to ask you, hey, do you just want me to listen or are we working through this?
Yeah. Well, and again, that's where this is a growth podcast. Um, that's what growth is, right? Like
Right.
growth is an individual journey, but more often than not, it does involve other people, right? Whether it is your spouse, your parent, or a mentor or a coach or trainer, like whatever, like we can't truly like the journey is our own, but truly the process of growth has to involve
Right.
others, right?
I'm glad you changed that verbiage because you were just like, oftentimes it does. And I was like, no, 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 it has to.
No, like the journey itself, like my growth journey is my growth
Oh, yeah,
journey.
yeah. No, it's all you. You have to do the work.
But it's got to and is going to involve other
Right.
people
It's got to be a
directly and
team sport.
indirectly. Right. And so knowing that, and that's why like it's growth is messy, growth is uncomfortable, and we can try to outrun it, we can try to like navigate around it, but you're never going to change the fact that it is messy and uncomfortable. And part of the messiness of it is thinking about yourself while at the same time also thinking about the other person, right? Because
Right.
like you may be able to come in and give me the solution to my problem, but again, do I have ears and a heart that is ready to receive that at that time?
Right. In that moment. Right. Because overall you could
Some
be, but not in
Right.
that
But
moment.
in that moment, and in other scenarios, it's like it's never going to be received. And so sometimes we have to just be willing to look at someone and because some of the things too, and this goes for not just if you're like an actual like do this for a living coach, but again, going back to your relationship with your spouse or your kids, um, I'm losing that thought of
Mhm.
you, as you said, I want to fix the problem. And I'm very similar, right? Because like it's been a little bit of emotional week for me, like just in life and in business. And some of it comes back to, gosh, I just want to help people, right? Like I just want to help people. I want to help my
Right.
kids. I want to help you. I want to help the women who, entrust me to have hired me as their coach. Like I just want to help people break through the things that are holding them back, you know?
Yep.
And
Yep.
obviously like that passion comes from my own experience of understanding what it's like to live life holding yourself back and all of those things. And so I want that for myself, and then because of my experience, I want that for other people. And so the hardest part of being someone who can see the potential in others, who can has a gift for helping people to get those breakthroughs and solve certain kinds of problems, it can be very challenging to take that step back,
Uh-huh.
to let them have the wait time for a little bit, or maybe like forever. And part of that, I think, is the self-awareness of knowing that, of course, like in my heart, in your heart, you are thinking about the other person, right?
Right.
But also at the same time, and I want to say this because I think it's important for everyone to evaluate themselves. At the same time, it also makes you feel good to help someone else out,
Right.
right? It makes me feel good when I can
Right.
help you break through, when I can help you solve the problem that you're having. Of course, I want that for you, but it also is reciprocal because it helps me feel better about me. So if I have to wait to help you, if that makes sense, in the way that I want to help you, because I think that's key too. The way that I
Right.
want to help you. Because I'm helping someone by giving them that space, but that may not be the way I want to help them. But that can be incredibly difficult to wait to help someone when they need it, how they need it, in the like I said, in the way that they need it, because it doesn't allow you to get what you need out of the servitude.
Yep. Well, and that has been one of my big struggles over the last month, 2 months, whatever. Um, because I my cup is filled by acts of service, by performing acts of service of taking care of you and the kids and whatever and doing the things. Um, and sometimes that is not wanted, needed, desired, what have you. So I'm really trying to not step in and do things that I see need to be done or help that needs to be provided until I am asked for it. And that's really tough for me because like I just like I want to do it. Um, but it was causing conflict and drama in the household because I don't want that help right now. I don't want you to do that. I was planning on, that type of stuff, which then makes me upset, right? Because I'm just like, well, I'm just trying to help. Like, I'm just trying to help you. Why are you getting mad that I'm trying to help you? That doesn't make any sense. Um, and so I really sat in that. And like I said, I'm working on it. And I'm working on it, externally too, right? As far as like we were in our other discussion this morning, like not providing coaching or advice that hasn't been asked for,
Right.
right? It's, and again, it's tough because I'm like you, like I want to help all the people, but not all the people want help. The flip side to that coin is an idea that one of my coaches uses, and that is closed mouths don't get fed, right? And so we've been talking about how, like, the proactive coaching is not always the move to make with your spouse, with your kids, with your coworkers, whatever, right? The flip side of that coin is don't always make people be in a position to be proactive, right? Ask for the help that you need, ask for the coaching that you need. Because to the point of my coach's pithy little statement, if your mouth is closed, you can't eat. And if your mouth is
Right.
closed and you're not asking for help, you're not going to get it.
Well, and let's go into that a little bit because there's a few different tentacles to it. Um, you know, I truly believe that great coaches do not offer up the coaching unless the questions are asked. Because,
Agreed.
and I can just speak from my own experience as someone being coached by someone, is, sometimes like I can use that as a crutch, right? I don't have to put for, if I know that my coach is just going to micromanage me, or my coach is going to make observations of me and come to me, whether it be on a Zoom call, one-on-one, whether it be in a group coaching session or in a group community. If I know that my coach is just going to pay attention to what I'm doing and make observations, and then he or she is going to come to me and ask me about that and tell me what I should do or what they're seeing, then it lets me off the hook of having to be responsible in my own self-reflection and in my own problem solving. And great coaches are not there to make us dependent upon them. Like, I'm not there to have my clients be in a place where they are dependent on me to solve their problems, to make them feel good, to enable, like that's not what I'm there for. I'm there as a third party to give them insight, feedback, my experience, a different point of view, when they recognize that they're in a place or they're up against an obstacle mentally, physically, internal, external, that isn't working for them. Because if someone just is like just following you around all the time and being like, oh, hey, like maybe you should try it this way. Oh, hey, like I see that you said this. Did you know that? Like, that's not helping you learn how to do these things for yourself. And you will forever be
Right.
dependent on someone else getting you out of the shit. And again, I do believe like coaches are valuable, and I believe that everyone should have at least one coach, if not more, and that you should have them for the rest of your life. And are they always going to be the same one for your entire life? Could be,
Probably
sometimes
not.
not, but like that proactiveness in your own growth is necessary. And, we've got multiple coaches, and, two of my coaches right now, neither one of them on calls are going like, Ashley, is there something you have to say today? Ashley, is there something you wanted to ask me today? Oh, hey, Ashley, I see that you shared this or did this. Let's dig into that. They're not doing that. Like, they are there as the resource that I hired them for, but they're not there to do all of the work. They're
Right.
there when I decide that hey, I'm in a pickle. Hey, I'm up against a wall. Hey, this is going on. I'm feeling some kind of way. I can't quite figure it out. And I ask the question. It's not a sit back on your haunches, because that kind of mentality is like that actually, to me, like it takes you backward, right? It detracts from your growth because it's a save me mentality.
Right.
If I'm sitting back waiting, and again, I know we've been talking about like literal coaching spaces, but going back to like the relationship, if I'm just sitting back waiting for you to point out what you're seeing in me that may not be like that, that's not going to benefit me ever. I have to be able to develop some of that awareness, and I have to be able
Right.
to come to you and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you got to be able to reflect upon yourself and then have the courage to ask some of those questions, right? And the other benefit, and this is like one that maybe you wouldn't think of, right? The other benefit of being willing to ask for the coaching is that it then hits you when you're ready for it to hit you, right?
Right.
So, like we talked about earlier, sometimes you get all up in your panties about the coaching I provide because it's not the right moment,
Right.
right? But if you never ask for it, then I'm a blind monkey throwing a dart at a dartboard trying to get the right moment.
Right. Which is a waste of
Whereas
everyone's time and energy and can
when
cause
you
more
ask for
problems.
it, you're in a receptive state and you're like, hey, I actually want help with this.
Right. And I mean, it all goes back to that's why it's so messy. It's your self awareness, my awareness of the fact that you're another human being, or that my coach is another human being, or our kids are another human being, right? Like it's the individual and then the group dynamic, like meaning like just the interaction with others, like the relational aspect of life. Like it's just so intriguing because even beyond all of that, it's like you could give me perspective on something, and then what am I making that mean?
Right.
And am I at a place where I have the self-awareness to understand that no matter what thoughts pop into my head about what that may mean, or your intent or whatever, I have to be in a place to be able to like, okay, wait a minute, why am I feeling this way? And it all turns back inward, right? Like I think that for me, I think that's the absolute hardest part of growth is realizing that everything does come back to turning inward to yourself. Period.
Right.
Period. And that doesn't mean that like external things, situations, experiences, people, it doesn't mean that they're not contributing to things. It doesn't mean that
Of
they're not at
course.
fault in some way. But
Don't
like
live
at
in a
the end of
bubble.
the day, nothing outside of myself is within my control
Right.
directly. So, like, even if what you're saying to me was actually mean, in my place of growth, like, I am allowed to feel hurt by that, sad by that. Like, having the feelings is fine. But then I also have to have enough self awareness or develop enough self awareness to understand that, like, I'm not you. And I don't
Correct.
know, like, did you intend to hurt me? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. If you didn't intend to hurt me, why did it play out that way? Why did I have that perception? What's the story I'm telling myself? That again isn't just a story for the now, it's like been built over my lifetime. If you were actually trying to be mean to me, having a self awareness to be like, I wonder why, right? Like, who hurt you?
Right.
Right? Who hurt you? What's happened to you that's brought you to this place that you've perceived me or this situation in such a way that you had to say that thing where you intentionally meant to be mean? Like, hello, Rico Suave, Justin from the past. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
and I guess as we talk about it this way, listeners, you may perceive this as, well, then why the hell would anyone want to grow? Because it sounds really flippin' exhausting. And it is at times, not all the time. It is at times. But I think the flip side of that is not ignoring how exhausting life is when you're not pursuing growth,
Right.
right?
I
We
mean,
kind of
yeah,
are
it's
like,
hard.
oh my
It's
gosh, that sounds so messy and hard. Why would I ever want to do it? Well, because at
right.
least you're moving somewhere positive
Right. Yeah,
with
it's
that work.
messy and it's hard, but it's the alternative is just as messy and hard. It just may not be as easy to see the messy and hard, but it's definitely there. And let me just say, as we need to start wrapping this thing up. Girl, it is sexy watching you learn and grow.
Well, thanks. I will choose to believe that you mean that.
What? I said it on the podcast. Of course I mean it.
No, I was trying to give another lesson there. Because sometimes people say things to you and you're like, well, are you serious? Do you really mean
Oh,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Right?
I
And then
You were Mr. Miyagi and me. Got it.
right. And that's one of the things I'm working on is just believe that what people say to you and show you is the truth. And if it's not the truth, then that's on them.
Right.
Right? If you're choosing to compliment me and it's not a real compliment, then that's on you. But I'm going to take it, I'm going to trust that what you're telling me is the actual truth. And so, with that, thank you. I
Hey, you're
appreciate it
welcome. You're welcome.
because the growth, the doing, the becoming definitely does not feel sexy a lot of the times. And it's
Well,
really hard.
indeed it is. But I'm proud of you and I love you.
Back at you.
Well, thanks. And listen,
Ditto.
listeners, we're proud and love you all too. We love you a little more when you like, comment, and share on these wonderful episodes that we provide to you free of charge. But we love you nonetheless.
We do. And as always, like, I know we didn't, I mean, I guess like the big nug for today is uh developing your awareness of your own patterns and processes and
Yep.
understanding that any other human that you encounter also has their own hurts,
All those
habits,
things
processes, all of the
that are
things.
different.
And maybe I'll give you like, I know there's a lots of little nugs in there, but let me leave you with this that I believe will serve you well. And that is assume positive intent, whether that's with an actual coach that you've hired to help you in some area of your life, whether that is with your significant other, your children, other family members, friends, coworkers, strangers, etc. Assume positive intent and know that is not always easy to do
Big facts for the
for
big
reasons that
backs.
we do not have time to cover right now in this podcast. But what you need to know is that when you assume positive intent in others, you will definitely decrease the amount of internal and external conflict, stress, frustration, and strife in your life. Like assume positive
100%.
intent until you find out otherwise. It'll save you probably a lot of drama.
Man, more sexy learning and growing from you there, babe.
All right,
I
enough
love
of
it.
the ushy gushy. I'm sure they don't love it. So
Too bad.
anyways, thanks for tuning in and we will see you next week.